In a world of uniparty politics, Americans are not seeing that fascism is not bearing to the left or the right, but a corporate endeavor to control policy for self enrichment and aggrandizement to non existent issues to socially condition the masses for global influence and control. This is today's New World Order. We the people are not happy with it. This is America Talks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week of America Talks. Um, don't have a guest this week, but we're gonna talk about some things here about what's going on. But I am your host, Greg Toller, here in Kentucky, and the co-host John Grosner up in New Hampshire. How you doing, John?
I am doing well, Greg. Just kind of having another week of work and fun and cold weather, and things are warming up though, man. It's so nice to see the weather's starting to turn and spring's right around the corner. Spring comes March 20th, and with it comes spring forward. So we'll all lose ourselves an hour of sleep. That'll be wonderful, I'm sure. Everybody wants to give up an hour of sleep, right?
Oh yeah, why not? We don't get enough, so losing another hour?
What,
It's
4 hours isn't enough for you?
Eh, I got used to it driving a truck. Yeah, about 4 hours of sleep and hitting it for a long day. So it don't bother me, but there is a lot of people that it does bother. Uh, but it's at least it happens on a Saturday and don't happen in the middle of the week and I guess actually Sunday since it's after midnight. But um, it's but yeah, weather's been really nice here. I believe it's kind of broke now, which kind of kicks off my business that I run and that me and my wife have, and it's actually kicked off about a month sooner than what I expected, but it's going pretty good too. So I won't complain about that.
Yeah.
So I seen a while ago where Linda McMahon got confirmed by the Senate, so she can actually make herself jobless. I guess. Uh, you know, Trump says you do it right, you'll make yourself jobless. So I think that's the goal.
Well, that's kind of an interesting job to have, work yourself right out of a job. But I'm sure when she does, Trump will reward her with some other job to work herself out of. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so what's your thoughts? Of course, all the Democrats, they're kind of raring and fussing about all the stuff he's doing. What's your thoughts about eliminating the Department of Education?
well, Trump can't do it. Okay, so Department of Education was created in 1979. It was a trifecta government between Congress and the president. We're all Democrats, and they created the Department of Education. Jimmy Carter signed it into law, and so it's a congressionally created department, in which case a president cannot eliminate it all by himself. It'll take an act of Congress. However, being regulatory controlled through executive orders and process of directives and stuff like that, the president may limit its ability within reason of the law. Meaning, if there is a statute that says the secretary shall do something, then Trump really doesn't have a whole lot of say regarding such matters. But when it comes to policies and things like that, where there's a broad stroke of the pen, and many people that might listen to the show understands trucking better than they do Department of Education, where hours of service doesn't necessarily say the secretary shall prescribe an hours of service. It says the secretary may prescribe a maximum hours of service. So there's a pretty broad stroke of the pen right there, where the secretary may, in this case, the FMCSA, uh, may create an hours of service rule what they think is most fitting. They can make determinations and have their comment periods and all this other nonsense, and come up with an idea what they think is a good hours of service rule, which gives the president power. If he says, "Hey, this hours of service rule is crap, and I want to change to more like this or more like that," then he may be able to do that. Still, it has to follow administrative procedure, but he'll have a lot of flexibility with it compared to something that's congressionally mandated.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be a good thing if they do if it goes through Congress and Senate and all that to eliminate it. I think it'd be best if it is handed down to the state level. Let the state run their own education system. Uh, you
Think so.
know, I really think it's a federal at a federal level. It is a waste of taxpayer money to do what they're doing there. I think it's just better suited um, to hand it down to the states. I mean, most states are school choice now anyway, right? So I think it's just best to hand it down to the states and say, here, you've got control, run it how you see fit.
Yeah, I think so too. States are capable. And they're the ones get burdened with responsibilities anyway. I mean, every time the federal government says something or do something, it's always up to the states to do the studies. It's always up to the states to do the functions and stuff. And the states basically the federal government saying, "Well, this is the dictates. These are what we want you to do." Hey, Allison, how you doing? And then they turn around and tell the states go do it, and the states have to do it. It's not like the federal
Yep.
government's doing the heavy lifting, doing all the hard work.
hmm Yeah.
So
No.
they may as well just do it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I agree. I agree 100%. It's but that's one thing that he ran on, right? When he was running for his campaign to become the 47th president is eliminating the Department of Education. So that's one of the things that he ran on, and the votes that he got, and by the landslide that he won by, it's obviously a an issue that is very uh, approval. I guess you could say most of America approves of it because that's just simply what he ran on.
So he could
Uh,
start by defunding. I think that's where he'll start is defund it and limit its power and basically make it defunct, and then maybe come next year we'll have a bill or whatever in place where Congress will see the effects of defunding it. Now, if things improve within the school systems within each state, then without the interference of the Department of Education, it'll be a little bit of grease on the cogs that grind the gear, grind the machine.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I think we can talk probably forever and say a lot about that, but since we're on the Department of Education, being Linda McMahon, of course, Vince McMahon and Hunter Hearst Hemsley, Triple H was the son-in-law of Linda and Vince. Uh, were there today. I think Trump. I mean, there's something happened here the last few days. I think Trump would have liked to have probably had them there at the White House in the Oval Office, wouldn't they? Was Zelensky and
Um, yeah, that's
um,
interesting. Triple H,
yeah, yeah, Hunter Hearst. I think it's Hunter Hearst Hensley or
Paul Levesque.
Hensley. Uh,
I'm seeing. I don't really do wrestling, so I was kind of, but yeah, he's American business executive, former wrestler. I didn't know he got into business.
mhm,
Um,
Yep. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, that was quite the show put on
Uh,
in the Oval Office. That's for sure. With President Zelensky coming in, uh, ultimately ended up, by the way everybody's saying, getting kicked out of the White House.
no,
Uh,
I don't
you
think.
know,
Well, they still had their meeting, didn't they? But
yeah, they still
real
had it.
quick,
Yeah.
going back to Triple H, the reason why I took an interest because he was born in Nashua, New Hampshire,
Mm,
and I remember my barber telling me because he used to have long hair and stuff, and my
yeah.
barber has a picture of him on the wall. He says, I used to cut that man's hair before when he was a little boy. So it's just kind of funny. So I took an interest because I didn't realize he was this advanced and did all these things. But his name is Paul Michael Levesque.
That's his actual name, but I never knew his actual name. Really, I just growing up
Yeah,
watching wrestling.
I see what you're saying. Ring names: Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
He did use
Uh,
Gene Paul Levesque,
mhm.
Triple H Levesque, Terra Rising. So basically, he used it. different spellings, but terrorizing, that's a pretty good one because it's
Yeah.
TERROR and then RISING, so it's kind of two separate.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but I guess, growing up and, watching them, watching wrestling and stuff, he kind of worked his way right into the role where he's at now, hooking up with their daughter and getting married and, look where he's at now.
Oh, no kidding, man. Right out of Nashville. So, yeah, no, going back to what you were saying about Zelensky, that was kind of an interesting exchange yesterday. I think their conversation, I don't know why, are you confused as I am, why they were having a news conference before a meeting? Shouldn't they've had their meeting first and then because that then set in with the media and said, hey, you know what, this is what we discussed.
Yeah, no, I am. I was surprised, but, you know, I, I don't know why. I mean, what, why should anything that Trump does surprise anybody? I mean,
Yeah. It
uh,
took me by surprise because yeah, I'm going, why are you having a media pool here when you haven't had your meeting yet? Now was the problem is Zelensky kept wanting to make discussions about the meeting stuff, the content of the meeting that they were about to have. He wanted to make it in front of the media. And that's not what
mhm,
that was supposed to be about. They were just supposed to be making an announcement. It went on kind of longer than expected, I think. And but it finally broke down there at the end when Zelensky, for those that may have not seen it or caught on, is because JD Vance had said, you got a president here who's offering diplomacy and he wants to bring peace, and Zelensky up and decides to bring up. He says, "Well, what did diplomacy do under Biden? What did diplomacy do under Obama? It didn't do
mhm.
anything." And so now you just challenge Trump. You don't come to the White House and challenge Trump. You don't tell Trump he's not doing shit. And I
Yeah,
don't think he meant it that way, but it sure did come out that way.
yeah, yeah. No, it did, and I don't know if there's been talk since that, between the two over the phone um, or anything like that. But Zelensky just pretty much said that he didn't want a ceasefire. Why do you want to keep killing your people?
I didn't catch him
Um,
really say that, but he kept he was kind of alluding to the idea he wanted to keep this war going. Unfortunately, part of the problem was, and I think a lot of people may not realize this, Zelensky was invited to a meeting prior to that meeting with members of
mhm.
Congress. So he was meeting
Yeah.
with other people, and I think they were filling his head. And but then now he's meeting with uh, European leaders. They
Hmm.
decided they want to take some charge in these peace talks.
Yeah.
So they're going to get right in the middle of this, and hopefully, I mean, really, everybody ought to step back and let Trump do what he was doing. He's the one who initiated this. He's the one that got this going, and now all these people want to get involved, and they're making a mess of it. Just leave it alone.
Well,
The man work his work. Let him moderate it.
but that just goes to show with all these other countries and stuff wanting to get involved now after Trump said that. Trump looked at him and said, "Well, you're just flirting with World War III is what you're doing."
Uh huh.
And then he left with no agreement, and now all these other countries want to get involved, which is solidifying what Trump said. Is it going to be World War III? Is Trump going to send troops from the U.S. over to help fight it? If not, then it's not really classified as a World War III,
He
correct?
he was very clear on it. He said, "There is no more. There is no
Mm-hmm.
more. You make this deal. This is all you have. You don't have any cards," is what he said. He's like, literally like, "I'm not playing cards." He goes, "You're out of cards. That's it. You have no cards unless without us. You're done."
Right.
And what he was saying was, "We're not funding you anymore. We're not going to get
Mm-hmm.
into war with you. We're going to close this deal out. We're going to get this done. We're going to make peace with Russia on this and put it behind us so we can all move forward." And Trump has a really great plan on this. And
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what the European leaders are seeing as Trump is talking about mineral rights and stuff, and he's going to work with Zelensky like we do oil and Arabic nations. They get a piece of it, right? We go out and mine it, and we give them a piece of it and we take our cut. And so it's going to be good for
Right.
the both of us. And it helps enrich their nation and it helps us to take care of the things that we need to take care of. And that's the security Zelensky doesn't see. See, he's talking about wanting
Mhm.
security. He wants boots on the ground in Ukraine, and he wants us to put them there. And Trump is trying to tell him that's a dangerous play. Let's not put military there. It's too close to Russia, and it
Yeah.
sends the wrong message to Russia. And
Mhm.
so, but if we have um, workers there, we have a vested interest. Putin will
Yeah.
not mess with us if he's going to put our people in jeopardy. He's not going to mess with our economics and stuff. I mean, countries do. China's tried to mess with our economics for years, but I don't think Putin's going to go against us. One, we're too strong with NATO. That's a strong force. Putin's got to work with, and the other one is we are a superpower militarily.
Yes. Absolutely. Uh, and I think a lot of people, well, country wise, they know we're superpower, but they don't want to acknowledge.
Yeah, we are. Well, wait a minute. Okay, I look up and I'm alone here. All right, no, yeah, he's totally gone. All right, so yeah, I think he was saying they don't want to acknowledge we're a superpower, but it's kind of hard to ignore that we're a superpower. But interesting note on off side note on this is he's coming back in here. Hang on a second. Let's see if we can get him. All right, man, there you are.
It was weird. I unplugged my printer so I can plug back up my computer to the charger, and I lost internet. I guess that was weird.
Oh, they're probably in the
Uh,
same router or whatever, and maybe that's right. I don't know. So, what were you saying that they don't want to acknowledge us as a superpower?
yeah, they kind of want to downplay it as us being a superpower. I think uh, to try to maybe get more out of us per se, but we're not stupid either. You know.
That's
Um,
debatable. Up to about a few months ago, they were starting to wonder if we had any strengths militarily. I mean, we had a bunch of men in dresses.
yeah, yeah, right. But luckily, we don't have to worry about that anymore. With Trump coming in, DEI, all that stuff, kind of went to the wayside. Um, you know, popular by some, unpopular by others. Uh, but that was the right deal. Uh, you know, and it was a good move too to reinstate. A lot of soldiers that were put out of the military because they didn't want to take the jab. You know, and give them back pay. That's that. I think that helped as far as uh, numbers go on recruiting. I think that kind of shows in the recruiting field. Um, but it's I good moves. I mean, to make it all stronger. Uh, are we as strong now, military wise, as we once were? Eh, I guess that's kind of debatable. Uh, you know, yeah, we are, but no, we're not. Uh, Strengths in numbers. The more numbers you have, the more powerful you are. I don't know the exact numbers now compared to what they were 15 or 20 years ago, as far as military goes.
I know they sure signed up after Trump became president. We had a huge, huge increase, phenomenal increase of people signing up for new recruits, and nobody wanted to be in the military under Biden. In fact, a lot of people were happy to be thrown out when they refused to take the jab.
Yeah.
So reinstating them, you're right, that was a great move. And back pay, I mean, that must be nice for them to be able to collect all that money all of a sudden. And
And that could be, not as much for some, but a lot of money for others. I mean, depending on your rank. I mean, if you was active duty military and let's say, you were a general, my goodness, the back pay of being out 3.5 years and getting full back pay. Now that's going to be a nice little check at the bank
That's what you call a windfall.
account. Yeah, yeah. So
Nope. There he goes again. This happens from time to time. Oh, he's popping right back in. So let's go ahead and grab him. And
yeah, I don't know the numbers between now and per se 3 years ago or even 2 years ago, as far as the number of um, I don't want to say active members of the military because the military, with the reserves and the National Guard, it's all military. Um, so presently today, the numbers compared to 2 years ago, I'm really not sure how they stack up.
I wouldn't know
Uh,
either. I never looked at that.
but it's I would by listening to them as far as how recruiting's been up, since Trump has taken office, you would think it'd be a lot more today uh, than it was 2 years ago.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like we were saying, it's the enlistment had risen a lot.
yeah, yeah. Um, I seen today too where I don't know, I can't remember. I think 1,500 more VA employees has lost their jobs due to the cuts. Uh, and people, I'm in VA chat groups because I go to the VA. I use the VA. So I'm in groups with the VA, and they're like, "Man, there it goes. We lost another 1,400 employees." But and the public, the general public, see that and they're like, "Dang, you know, that's taking them longer to get treatment and things." But the thing is, they are processing claims faster than ever at the VA now. Um, I think since Trump has taken office, there's been, if I'm not mistaken, fact check me if you want, because I'd like to know, but it's over 1 million claims that the VA has processed since Trump has taken office.
Huh.
And it's been, I know some people has gone 3 years before a claim's been processed. And now all of a sudden, I mean, it's just starting to click. They're putting them out, getting them done. Um, Maybe that's so they can respond to Elon's email. What'd you do the last 5 days? uh, I don't know, but they're getting them out.
Yeah, that could be a motivator. Yeah,
I mean,
faster than ever. VA claims accuracy rate has risen to more than 92%. 92%. Wow.
yeah, it. I mean, they're cruising on those. Um, I know it took me just to get my raise, and it wasn't me. It took my lawyer like literally 3 years to get that, and it took forever, and now it's just like it's going like clockwork. Um, and there's some other good things. Some people's even fussing about, why don't you have Trump's picture up in the VA hospitals yet? You know, we're working on 45 days, and everybody's like, "Oh, with Biden, it was up the next day. Where's Trump's picture?" Um, I think everybody pays too much attention to the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think so. I
That's-
don't that was it wasn't even a thought in my mind. I mean, yeah, I guess I could see how you'd put Trump's picture up in there. He's the president of the United States, but he's not a dictator and imp. So, these socialist, communist dictators from, like, say, Castro, his picture was everywhere, right? You will worship this
Right.
man.
Yeah. Um, the secretary of the VA and the president, their pictures are always hanging up when you go into the VA hospitals to kind of show the chain of command type, deal that the Army and, well, all the military has. And they haven't gotten them up yet. And they're like, man, that's pretty bad. You ain't even got it up yet. It's like, well,
It's because they're processing claims. What do you want?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You're supposed to be coming to the VA because you feel sick, not just to check a photo.
yeah, they're going to need a photo.
We know who's running it. We know. Uh, but yeah, it's so what else you are you eyeballing as far as what's going on now?
Well, let's see. Elon Musk supports U.S. withdrawal from NATO and UN. I'm not sure what that means by he supports it, but I guess maybe as an advisor to Trump, Elon Musk backed calls for the U.S. to withdraw from NATO and the United Nations after months of bad mouthing the two international organizations. Now we know that Trump in his first administration had made statements about wanting to leave the United Nations and threatened to pull out of NATO, and so we spend a lot of money. United Nations, we spend between 13 and 18 billion dollars annually.
Hmm.
I think the United North American Trade Treaty Organization, they or North Atlantic rather, they I think they work on a much smaller budget. We spend about 47%. We pay about 47% of their budget, and I want to say it's like $4 billion or something. It's not huge, but are you on your
I don't know
phone?
what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. That time you dropped off of here first, and then I dropped, and then we was both back on.
It's
That
your
was
phone.
weird.
I didn't drop anywhere. It's the so the cell phones, this system, this restream, for some reason really taxes the CPUs on the cell phones. Does your cell phone feel like it's getting hot?
Mm-mm. No, it's cool. It's cool can be.
Oh wow. Yeah, Sean complains his gets hot. I tried to use mine when I was in Pennsylvania. I did a restream and I tried to use my it came out crappy. It was the worst. I'm like, yeah, this system seems to put a strain on the cell phones, I think. And so
And
it
it
might
could be
be
too.
it's booting you out or something. I don't know.
Well, it could be too. I may not have used Chrome on this one either. All the other weeks I've used Chrome, and it's been pretty good. I might not have used Chrome on this one. I'm not sure.
So Todd McKinley and the Common Sense Conservatives used to use a cell phone all the time, and when I started using this system, it happened to him. Not as frequently as you, but it did happen to him where he get kicked out for no apparent reason at all.
Yeah, and I try to use my computer, you know, their third or fourth week, and couldn't get sound to go through on the computer, and so I went back to the cell phone. I don't know. It's weird.
So on this United Nations thing, I don't know if this is just a ploy because Trump's not happy with the way the United Nations is going with all the DEI and stuff. A lot of this is coming out of the United Nations. We pay a lot of money. We pay something like 22% of their budget. So
Hmm.
we pay a lot of money to the United Nations, and we house the United Nations in New York City. So he's probably
Hmm.
looking at what we threaten to pull out. A, they lose their location, and B, they don't get that 22% of their budget from us. And that's huge. Nobody pays that kind of money to the United Nations like we do. We pay huge money to the United Nations.
Hmm.
All these out of 193 member nations, or as they like, and I really resent the fact they call it member states. We're not a state. We're a nation. There's a difference. And so they but anyway, they like to call us member states. And out of everybody, we pay, I see people when I was looking at it earlier, you don't see anybody paying $1 billion on the list of
No.
people that have paid this year so far. None of them, not even well, maybe the United Kingdom paid 1 billion, but I don't know. I don't know what they paid. Let's see if I can find it real quick. But um nope, wrong one.
Well, nobody comes as close as what the U.S. does. I mean, it's probably very marginal as far as the distance between the U.S. what they pay and what the next closest nation pays to it.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, we pay 22% out of 193 nations. We definitely pay the most. And
Yeah.
Trump, he he balked about this in his last presidency, and he threatened to pull out. Then he said, maybe we need to pull out of the United Nations. Maybe we don't need to be part of that anymore. You got to realize he's 78 years old. He come from a day and time when he knew this greater America. When we were about American freedoms and we put ourselves first. You
Hmm.
can't be a beacon of light of hope for the rest of the world if you don't take care of yourself first. If a plane is going down and the oxygen mask drops, they tell you take care of you first, then assist the person next to you if they need assistance. Don't go to them first. If you're not breathing, you can't help them. you know.
Right.
So, and it's the same thing here. If we're not taking care of ourselves and making sure that we're stable, then how are we supposed to help anybody else in the globe?
Hmm.
We haven't been doing that. We've been throwing caution to the wind. We've taken a lot of unnecessary risk, and we've carried the weight of the world too long.
Yeah. Yeah. And would how hard would it be for the UN to actually survive without what the U.S. gives to them?
They wouldn't. I don't think they would. That's what I'm saying. They're housed here in the United States. I mean, they've got
Hmm.
the big UN building is right there in New York City, right in Manhattan, south end of Manhattan. It's huge, and I'm sure they have other facilities in other places in the world too. But I think it's headquartered in New York City, so they don't want to lose their location because that would destabilize them, and
Hmm.
the funding would destabilize them horribly.
Yeah.
So, that's a typical Trump ploy is hey, we'll defund you and leave you twisting in the wind if you can't see things our way.
Yeah.
How are
I
the people?
mean, I think any way it goes right now, Trump's got the upper hand on just about everything that you could throw at him,
And he knows it.
and he knows it.
Yeah,
Um, and I think with that in itself helps this country more than what people realize. It helps this country uh, as far as uh, economy goes, things like that. I mean, there was another big tech or something today at the White House that guaranteed $100 billion investment in the U.S. over the next 4 years. Um, just the money that he's had guaranteed to to come into this country uh, is mind blowing over the last 40 days or whatever he's been in office. It's just mind blowing.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, he's turning things around for sure. His
it's
strategies and stuff are really going to work for if he, as long as he can see them through, and people are going along with what he needs them to go along with. I think he's going to turn this country around. I mean, his whole idea, I thought it was interesting. He wants to sell gold visas. Have you heard this one?
$5 million. Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, yeah, step up to the front of the line for $5 million. He's like, listen, if we can sell X amount of these, and I don't remember the exact, but he's talking about buying down our national debt.
yeah,
If people go along with these, there's a chance that, like he says, listen, I may not sell one, I may sell 100. I may sell enough to have $15 trillion in reserves left over time when we're done. He says,
yeah,
I don't know how it's going to sell, but we're going to do them. We're going to see how it pans out and see if we can buy down our debt some.
yeah. I mean, it's that's just like the money that Doge is saving uh, every day, every month, every year. Uh, right now, they've been talking about a $5,000. Man, put that toward the debt. Um, that debt's been up there for so long. Let's put it toward the debt. Let's see how much of the debt we can pay off in the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's probably not going to make a big dent in the debt, but my thing is a lot of that money they found was stripped from Social Security, from my understanding.
Hmm.
And I say, take care of grandma and grandpa first. It's
Oh
time to
yeah,
think about what the road. You know what I'm saying? Social
yeah.
Security's been a failed policy, and it won't fix it. I don't think it's not enough money to fix it, but it certainly will help them. And I think that's where
Oh.
it should go. Myself, I think we should take care of our social responsibilities. And it's
Hmm.
weird to say this as a conservative, right? Because I don't believe in the Social Security program. And I don't believe in any government programs like the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act. Vehemently opposed to it. One, it was sold as a poor bill of goods. It didn't work. The other one was is that the fine that they wanted to impose until they realized they weren't allowed to make a fine or levy a fine, so then they turned it into a tax. Well, a fine is a fine no matter what you call it. That ticked me off. But more importantly, it's a government program. Government does not fulfill its obligations. Okay, we've seen the amount of corruption Trump is exposing right now. The Social Security program was sold as a bill of goods that is going to be continuation of your income upon retirement. So you can retire with dignity. That's what they told people. And somewhere along the lines, it turned into, oh, it's only a supplement for your retirement. You should have invested better. You didn't tell those people back in 19 freaking 33 or whatever it was when it was implemented. And my grandmother being one of them, she was born in 1918, so she was a pretty young person when she was working when it was implemented. She retired and she looked back and goes, well, where's my Social Security? What do you mean it's supplement? What happened? You told me I was going to be able to retire. She was very upset, and a lot of people were.
But when they came out with Social Security, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't supposed to last this long. It
Why?
was only meant for. I think it was only meant to come up for a certain reason for a certain amount of time. But then they just kept it going. I don't know. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. But
A lot of FDR's policies, things that he implemented, wasn't supposed to be long lasting, like welfare. Welfare was
yeah,
created under FDR for soldiers to
right.
integrate back into society because there weren't jobs available for them when they come home. So they said,
Mhm.
well, we'll have to create a welfare program just so these guys can live with dignity. They served our country, we'll take care of them. Let them live
Mhm.
with dignity until they can become gainfully employed, and then we'll get them off from welfare. It's supposed to be a temporary measure for that
Right.
purpose, turned into, well, hey, look at us today. We're still killing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and we are. It's like I said. Well, like you said, a lot of things that FDR came out with wasn't supposed to be a long term fix that ended up that it was better than what they thought, so they kept it going.
Yeah.
Um, so it's
But I don't think
yeah,
Social Security was an act, and I don't think there was a sunset clause on it, right? It didn't have to be reestablished or anything, right?
I I don't know. There was so many things that I looked at that was like that. That I seen that said that it wasn't brought up to last forever. It was brought up to last just a short period of time. It wasn't a long term goal or fix, but and maybe it wasn't. Social Security wasn't one of them, but there was a few things there that I had read on that said that.
Yeah,
Um,
it was 1935. I had the date wrong. I said 33. Um,
hey, close enough. I wouldn't have been, probably wouldn't have been that close.
yeah, well, he was working on it in 34, 33, 34, and so yeah, it was passed in 35, signed in. Um, I'm trying to see if there was a sunset provision to it, but I don't think so. I think it was actually meant to last. Because the design of the thing was that uh, the design of the thing wasn't. It was like a pool, right?
Right.
So we're all paying into it, and it was generational. So every person entering the workforce was going to be paying into it. So it had to last. In other words, they'd be paying into it, you'd be robbing them of their, because it's not a tax.
Well,
You're
right,
robbing.
right. But the government's been robbing from it forever, though.
Yeah.
You know, they're notorious about. robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's well, and it's like I've talked before. Here in Kentucky with $382 million a year coming from the transportation industry. Here in Kentucky, they rob from that every year to do other stuff that it's not, stuff it's not intended for. That transportation money is intended for and should be used for the infrastructure. With your roads, your highways, and things. Uh, but they only use like $80 million of that every year to go for what it's actually meant for, and the others distributed everywhere else. Uh, so it's a crazy thing, but it just shows that your government is living beyond its means whenever they have to go and take money from this to pay something here. And it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And it's sad to say that the government, I don't know. I don't know if the federal government will ever balance a budget, to be honest.
Yeah, Social Security was meant to be long term. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, no, if government was to be held accountable for their actions, they'd be charged with misappropriation of funds when it comes to Social Security. They mishandled the funds horribly bad and then turned around and told the people that, well, we didn't expect people to live so long. We thought they would be dead by 68, retire at 65, be
Yeah.
dead by 68. But hey, look at you guys living to be 79, 80 years old now. We can't afford to keep you. We can't afford to pay for you. So it's like, I don't think that's what happened at all. I think they just, like you said, they were robbing from the funds. They were using the money elsewhere. And Doge, I
Hmm.
think, discovered a lot of missing monies and stuff came out of Social Security were
Hmm.
erroneously taken.
Yeah. And would not surprise me at all. Um, and it's bad that they take money from the elderly like that. It's bad, even, let's say, take the money away from a 25 or a 30 or 35 or 40-year old, but to take the money away from the elderly that's put in to make sure that after they do retire, they have income coming in. You know, that's that's putting the icing on the cake, and then
Well, the thing about Social Security, um, if you'd have taken all that money you worked and paid into Social Security, invested it appropriately into the stock market or something, not risk, high risk investments. But yeah, you could probably retire a millionaire. You know,
oh yeah, yeah,
and what are you going to get out of Social Security? Going to get pennies on the dollar? I mean,
yeah. It's but even if you put it in 401k, I mean the taxes, you know, from taking it out that you have to pay on your 401k. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. I've known people that's retired from Toyota motor manufacturing here in Georgetown, Kentucky. When they retired, had $1 million in their 401k. But what did they really get out of that? After paying taxes and all that stuff. You retire thinking you're a millionaire, but you're really not.
well, yeah, if you got, say, if that's considered capital gains tax or something, could be at 39, 40%. And we've seen it as high as 50% or close to it at times.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can lose half your money, but still, retiring with $500,000 might be better than retiring off Social Security and might collect $100,000 over the course of your retirement if you're lucky.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. $500,000 out of a million. You know, that's still a pretty good hunk of change. I can live off of it. I'm not going to say for the rest of my life because I hope that I would like to think that I'm like halfway through my life. By science, the scientific number of how long we live. Obviously I'm not. I'm well beyond halfway through my life. Uh, but I can live for a while off of 500 grand.
Oh, heck yeah. Managed properly, yeah. So, Tariffs. It's kind of funny because there's a history on tariffs, and a lot of people will keep wanting to say, "Oh, well, tariffs is just another tax on the people, and they should be ashamed of them starting." You realize there was a time and day when President McKinley had tariffs in this country. We didn't have personal income tax, right? And the concept of tariffs to me is I pay money or I pay taxes in accordance with what I can afford to spend. And if I'm saving
Mhm.
money, I'm not being punished for saving money. So a young couple trying to save money and buy a house, they're not paying taxes because they're saving money and buying the house, so they're not spending it. So it's
Mhm.
good and it helps them grow and develop. Whereas, and you talk about fair taxes, right? Because if you have tariffs and you're paying your taxes through tariffs, then rich people would actually be paying more in taxes. So all these Democrats always crying foul and going, they don't pay their fair share. They would have no choice but to pay their fair
Right.
share if there was tariffs. And
Mhm.
so and it's funny because all these Democrats are against tariffs. Well, it was a Republican president, William McKinley, and he actually lost his House seat because he campaigned on tariffs, higher tariffs.
Mhm.
Later on, I think he would be governor or something. Later on, he ran for president, and in regard to raising tariffs, and he won. So he raised these tariffs, and he had some pretty high tariffs too, man. Think up to like 50% on certain areas. And so a lot of people don't understand tariffs doesn't necessarily mean we're going to charge, say, 25% to every nation and every product.
Mhm.
That we have flexibility. So if we say Canada, they were talking about raising tariffs in Canada, and if we raise tariffs at 25% in Canada, it doesn't mean that we're going to charge 25% on everything. So we have Canada produces a lot of car parts. We might have a dependency on that and turn around and say, well, the car parts, on the other hand, are going to be 5% or 2% or something like that
Mhm.
because we need that flow. We need that economic flow. Um, the fuel or the oil they send down, same thing, right? It's not going to be 25% because we have a dependency. We need it. So you have flexibilities on these things. A lot of people don't look at that. But the most important thing to understand about tariffs is we had this really great economy going with these high tariffs, which created, and of course, tariffs create a balance in economy. So you need a trade balance, right? Right now, we've been in trade deficit with so many different countries because they hold high tariffs while we hold 2%, 5%, things like that, real low tariffs. But it was the liberals that wanted to reduce tariffs at the turn of the 20th century.
Mhm.
So in 1913, under the Revenue Act of 1913, I think is what it was, they decided to reduce tariffs to 2%, at the same time implement a personal income tax. You can blame the liberals because you got to file taxes every year.
Yeah, no, and that's right. We've talked more than once, John, about uh, the Fair Tax Act, right? Uh, you
HR
know,
25, people, you need to get out there and support it.
yeah, do away with all these taxes, your income tax and all that stuff. Impose a sales tax on everything that you buy. Now, I'm not for that if it takes it to 25% sales tax, right? But if we can keep it manageable, 15, 18%, uh, you know, then I think it would be better. Why do I say that? Is because you then have control of the taxes that you pay,
Yes.
depending on what you buy. That makes us live within our means while the government is trying to live within their means. Um, so you have the control on what you buy and how much taxes you spend and pay in, depending on what you buy. So if you take away the property tax, the income tax, you take away all those taxes and then say, okay, it's 18% sales tax across the board, then you can spend a lot less on taxes every year. That way, while the government is probably making more because you've got the millionaires out there buying big stuff, you know, and the more expensive stuff and paying more. Everybody is equal on the tax bracket at that point.
Yeah. Like I said, you're paying in accordance to what you can afford to spend.
Hmm.
If you don't want to pay taxes, if you want to save money, you're not being punished for it. So
Right.
you're right. I think tax basis because right now the average worker probably um, lower middle class workers probably paying about 23% income tax on their wages. And when everybody's paying a fair share, then rightfully your taxes should go down a little. You shouldn't have to pay the same 23%. 18% sounds more reasonable. And I want to say years ago they had it whittled down to like 13, something like that. But I think this bill HR 25 might be rooting around 23%, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
To me that's
Um,
high.
that's a little high. I think it needs to stay under that 20% mark. Uh, I think that's your sweet spot when it comes to that. 20% or more, I just think it's too high. You
Right.
know, it,
It can be adjusted, right? They can adjust it anytime they want to. That's the problem with taxes that they do all quite frequently. But yeah, it'd be nice to see it come down quite a bit. Give people the tax break with the debt and stuff and trying to pay off the debt. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but then again, Trump has plans, so we'll see how that goes. But since we got about 8 minutes left in the show, before we get off this show, I just want to point out here. I've always questioned this, and I'm not sure if she did anything wrong or not, but I see this article, Greg, that Representative Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is coming under fire after it appears she was advising illegal aliens on how to avoid immigration authorities. She might have actually broke the law, man. Clip up.
AOC, I I seen that, and there was a reporter that questioned her on this, and she didn't even answer the question. It's almost like she has no idea what she's talking about when it comes to immigration. You know, has no clue. So the way she answered it kind of threw it back at the reporter, like she's blaming him because he has no clue. It was like, what if you're going to say something and then get asked about it? At least have your answer ready to back up what you said. Uh, it, to me, she has no clue what she's talking about when she talks about that stuff.
No, she does come off as being a little ignorant on things, but yeah, she's claiming that she was just advising her constituents of the law and how the constitutional rights and stuff, which a lot of stuff I've heard her advise them on was about whether you have to open the door or not, or whether they need a warrant or not, things like that. Yeah, you got a legal right to do that, to say that
Mhm.
the law requires a warrant, and
Yeah,
but um teaching them how to be evasive to cops, how to run away, how to hide, what cops might be looking for. That might be interfering with justice,
yeah.
obstruction of justice.
I don't know. I see a 2028 ticket of Tim Waltz, and AOC.
Oh my God, no. I don't want to be a losing ticket. Can you imagine if they won? Oh, the stupidity.
Oh
Why is it every time the left speaks, it's the ad hominems? Did you see that thing with Tim Waltz here recently? What are you talking about? The Nazis? What the Nazis
yeah,
said? It's like, are you kidding me, bro? You always got to call the people on the right Nazis. You know how stupid that sounds, especially when the left are being such fascists to begin with.
yeah. I mean that's just something that, of course, our TV stays on Fox News. We're constantly watching it, and it's something that they said on the Five today. That Tim Waltz is looking at a presidential run in 2028. Like, oh Lord,
I don't see it. He was not. He was too weak. He's very, very
yeah.
weak as a presidential candidate. There is no way he's going to be on another ticket. Who would put him on another ticket?
Uh,
He's scraping the bottom of the barrel
the
at that.
Democrats, that's who would.
Who would?
The Democrats.
Democrats. They're stupid enough to do it, right? Don't worry, we don't care how stupid you are, how foolish you look. We'll cheat for you. Honest. We got what are they called? Dominion machines.
I mean, I've said it before. I truly believe it's not. I mean, but my thoughts, I've looked at a lot of numbers with elections, uh, how they've gone, what's changed between elections, and I don't see a Democrat president at least until 2040. I I don't see it. I mean, it's like they're having to restructure their whole party now because of this last campaign. They drop and they just have to do a complete rebuild of the Democratic Party. And when you go through stuff like that, I mean, it's just like starting over from the scratch, like you're a brand new party. And I don't see it until at least 2040.
Yeah, well, it's possible. I mean, people are kind of fickle, man. I really don't know. We have so many moderates in this country, people that can swing conservative or right or left. And I think we got quite a few of them that swung right this time because the Democrats just shot themselves in the foot. But yeah, you're right. It's going to take a lot of time for them to restructure. But then
Yeah.
I
And
I don't think they're going to restructure. I think they're going to stay right on the path they've been on, the communist agenda path that they've been on, and I think that they're going to try to push that agenda and continue to shoot
well,
themselves in the foot.
well, if they do that, it's probably going to be longer than 2040.
Yeah.
But it's and I'm not saying there's not going to be Democratic governors, because states you're always going to have, you know, your share of Democrat, your share of Republican governors. Uh, but as far as the president goes, I don't see it. You're always going to have Democrats and Republicans in the House, in the Senate. You know, you're always going to have that. I'm talking about the top office in this country. I don't see it not until at least 2040.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, people are fickle, so you never know how things are gonna go. It just takes a screw up. You know what I mean? One
Mm-hmm.
screw up, something to blow up in their face, and I'm gonna give some the Democrats credit on one thing. They're not bad at strategy. They've proven time and time again they can really hook somebody, and they've done that a number of times. Trump has been slick. That's because Trump abides by the law, and he'll
Yeah.
err on the side of caution. So he's been slick. He's gotten out of jams and stuff like that. But he's had the monetary means to do it. I mean, how many of us would have survived a $500 million lawsuit or whatever it was? We're not doing that. And that's why you saw these guys selling out. They were taking plea deals because they knew they financially couldn't do it. I mean, some people gave up millions of dollars worth of wealth that the state of New York took from them. Like 15 million, I can't remember who it was, Cohen or somebody. It took like $15 million from him, and like land and houses and stuff that he owned, properties, and all he could do was plea out. He couldn't defend himself. He didn't have the financial means to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the abuse and tyranny of government. When they drop their weight on you, they got the financial means, and if they don't, they'll just raise your taxes and create it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And they never stopped from Trump's first um, presidency. They haven't stopped attacking. But with what he has overcame within the last year and a half, how many of us could really go through what that guy's gone through and still be laughing, joking, cutting up? I couldn't.
I think he's expressed some anger. We've seen it, right? I mean,
Oh, he has. Yeah.
don't tell me about attacking. Don't talk to me about attacking because I put up with it for 4 years now. They've come at me with everything they've had. He's pretty much laid into him. He wasn't putting up with some nonsense.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a little bit of expression that they really did get under his skin, but yeah, you're right. He kind of shrugged it off pretty good. He rolled with it pretty good. He came out of it like a champ. Um, but yeah, I just you're right. I don't know anybody that could have handled it the way he did. I know Bill Clinton did back in his day when he
Hmm.
was jams. He handled it pretty gracefully, but I'm just speaking fairly here. I know sometimes people
Yeah.
want. John, are you leaning left on us? No, I'm not leaning left on you. But I'm just speaking fairly. I do recall when they were coming at Bill Clinton pretty hard, and he handled with some pretty good grace.
But and that's it. I wouldn't say leaning left, but at least you're one of the people that could give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
No matter if it's right, left, or whatever. You know, I'm not saying that everything the left has done over the last 20 years have been horrible. There's been some bright spots. Uh, as there has been some low spots uh, with the Republican Party
Uh-huh.
and the candidates that they've had. I mean, it goes on both sides, but right now, today, as today's world is, we couldn't have gotten any better than Donald Trump.
No. I love what Trump is doing, man. He's doing everything to be oppositional to the direction that things have went that we balked about for years. And he's
Hmm.
actually one guy who's fixing it. And it's possible that he may get a complete and total turnaround in this. And he may put this country in a different direction. And it's like my wife said, we're not having a revolution. We're having a counter revolution because the revolution means change. And the left has been trying to change this country and take us down a weaker path, a terrible path,
Hmm.
a dark path. And Trump has pretty much counter revolutionized that and says, no, 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 no. You don't get to lasso us. You don't get to wrangle us. And you don't get to lead us down that path. We, the
Yeah,
American people, will take it another back to the direction we were originally on. We will continue the path we were on and be the great nation we once were. And that's
right.
why we voted for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, we're over our 1 hour here. Uh, but yeah, it's, you know, been good talk tonight. And, we'll be back next Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Tomorrow night, John will be back on at 7 o'clock with the Patriot Confederation. Wednesday night, he'll be right back again with the Common Sense Conservatives. Thursday night, he will be also on another show. He will be right here with the Independent Trucker Show. Uh, and then I don't know. I think he kind of got got into his wife's head. Well, he does all these shows. Maybe I need to do one of my own. Uh, so she has the brew on Sunday nights. John, is that correct?
Sunday nights. Oh, no, Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
That's the
Uh,
only show on at 4 o'clock. The rest of them 7 p.m. That's how we built them. But that one
yeah,
just seemed like it was a better fit. Sunday afternoon at 4 seemed a little better than doing evening time.
yeah, yeah. So that, and we will be back, like I said, next Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern. And John, you can take us out.
Awesome. I get to be the guy that gives you the old fashioned trucker's way out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our bit for tonight. We hope you got something out of it. As always, keep the greasy side down, the shiny side up, in between the lines. Safe travels wherever you may be going. And as always, be good. If you can't be good, well, be good at it. And we are gone.